In these drought times, producers get real concerned about water and how do I get water. One of the things that in this area, there's a stream that continues to flow during the summertime. And so we've been talking about using a wet well to collect the water from the stream that we can pump to livestock to keep them out of the stream. And so what we're constructed here is just a real inexpensive wet well. The purpose is to transfer the water to this site so that then we can pump from it. At this time, we've got a little solar pump pumping from down in here, moving water to a tank.
As we begin this video, we're wanting to show you just a brief schematic of how we will be installing this wet well. First, we needed to select our site. In this case, we have about 2 foot of stream depth at this location, but that should be adequate enough as the stream has good flow. As we continued to survey the stream, we determined that the casing needed to extend 3 feet below the bottom of the stream to provide a sump so we have a good volume of water for our pump as we place it down into that zone. The location we had selected for the wet well had the top of soil being 3 feet above stream level, and we need about 1 more foot of casing to stick up above soil level so extraneous drainage will not come down into our wet well. We then found us a casing that we liked. Yes, we found a 9-foot casing, and in this case we put it in first and then connected that with a 2-inch pipeline going to the stream. The 2-inch pipeline was connected in the casing. We'll talk about that later, how we held it in, and then we connected it up with the intake line going out into the stream. We then put the service line, leaving the wet well casing. The service line, we use a pitless adapter or something similar so that we can get our pump in and out of the wet well, and the service line in this case only needed to be about a 1-inch pipe to head uphill to where the stock tanks are. An alternative would have been for us to, instead of using the 2-inch pipeline, to use a fill of clean rock, and that would have probably been 1 excavator bucket width from the stream all the way back to the casing, and then filling that with clean rock. Oftentimes we talk about then putting a cover over that so that the soil from the surface doesn't fill our clean rock core. But that's the objective, and now we'll show you some of the video of how we put this in. As we were beginning to install this wet well, the first thing we did was investigate where along the stream would be a reasonable place. This, of course, didn't look very reasonable. Stream bank was steep. We'd have had to have a very, very long casing. Other places had obstacles and brush and things of that nature along the stream. It didn't fit very well with our needs. But down at one site, we found a pretty good location with a pool that was wide enough and deep enough that we could make it work. We surveyed the site, checking the depth of the stream, checking the depth of the bank, looking at how our intake device would lay in the bottom of the stream. The next day we secured a culvert tube about 9 feet long. We wrapped it in geotextile just to keep some of the sandy material from coming inside it. And as Stacy is showing here, about 3 foot will be below the stream bed. The top of stream would be about 5 foot off the bottom of the casing. The intake device would then go in about that location, maybe 3 foot off the bottom. You can see the holes in the end of the intake device. It would be out in the stream. Then we will be placing a 90, a short piece of pipe, and then a T on the inside. This will be what we will use to secure the pipe inside the casing. Glued this all together, put it in the sidewall of the casing, and then put the longer piece of pipe into it, secured that just by wiring to the top of the casing so it would stick straight up when we put it into the hole. There we have it in the hole, moving it around just to get things oriented just the way we wanted it. And then you can see we let the pipe down in. Now, we didn't let it down in before we had additional pipe added onto it because that trench was much too deep to be in for safety purposes. So we held that pipe up and would glue the pipe together from the top side of the trench. You can see inside how that arrangement works with the T in there. That just keeps it from getting lost or pulled out or while we're making our installation. The excavator was working really fast, and so it was difficult to get many action shots. We just had to shoot some pictures. I would have liked to have had the trench and the pipeline just a little bit deeper in this installation.
So we have the culvert in, and the bottom of it should be 3 foot below the bottom of the creek bank. The pipe is in.
And before you know it, the excavator had everything covered up and we were putting finishing touches around the casing. The intake pipe is laying in the bottom of the stream there. In fact, the stream is dark enough you cannot see it. A lot of times when you put these in, you'll still be able to see the intake pipe because it's still white and bright. Looking back from the stream toward the casing, you can see it back there. And we didn't put a pitless adapter in this one because we were wanting to test it out first and make sure everything was flowing. We just put a suction pump, pumping it out and pushing it uphill just to test things out. At a later date, we came back to test the system. We used an 1.5-inch transfer pump to pump water from it to cause water to flow. We thought it did quite well. We'll allow you to see and make your own opinion.